Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier for Weekend Wrap, taking a look back at last Saturday's Grade 1 Stephen Foster Handicap. Gunrunner, the big favorite, they break from the gate. Gunrunner doesn't disappoint. What's going on with the #1 bird song, projected to be the speed of the race, and Julian Leparoux says no mas.
You know, and that's kind of the problem with analyzing this race, is that Gunrunner, as awesome as he was, the entire complexion of the race changes when Birdsong doesn't go. Birdsong cannot win with a ride like this. He broke sharp. It wasn't a matter of, you know, maybe he was a step or two slow. He broke sharp, and they just decided to take him off. And now at this point, everyone else is in deep water.
And I understand the connections of Birdsong, perhaps thinking Leparoux, perhaps thinking, well, this 1 1/8 is a little bit far. I don't want to get embroiled in a speed duel. He's not supposed to be fifth in between horses. The race is pretty much over at this point. 23-2 on an uncontested lead against these horses. It's like skipping for Gunrunner.
The only question was going to be, how did he come back from Dubai? Is he going to bounce back, getting Lasix back on, considering, you know, obviously you can't run over there in Dubai with Lasix on. So there was a little bit of a concern or a question about how he would rebound out of it. But when you give him a situation like this, we've seen time and time again, when he gets this trip, he can absolutely pound fields.
Stanford for Todd Pletcher, the number 8, I believe, on the outside, is going to try to make a run right now at Gunrunner, and he's very quickly going to be rebuffed. Breaking Lucky's going to try to make a bid from third. The horse that'll run second, Honorable Duty, he's basically off the bridle right now, while Gunrunner is cruising. Keep an eye on little Hawakam, the number 6, and the green silks down towards the inside, because he's going to get jammed up in mid-stretch. He might have finished second with a clear run.
Yeah, he might have come on and grabbed a little bit of a better piece than he did running fourth in this spot. I guess there's a part of me, though, that looks at everyone behind Gunrunner and says, well, it was the race within the race, because no one was going to be able to touch this horse. You see him goofy with his lead changes. That's him at this stage in the game. We know that. But you see the other 4, they're all kind of bottled up amongst one another. Nobody was really asserting themselves as the second best horse in this race. Gunrunner was unbelievable in there.
This horse is now Gunrunner, the second best dirt horse in the entire world.
Easily.
He came in as the second best dirt horse, and he really stamped it. He's right behind Arrogate right now. A 110 Beyer speed figure, a giant time form US speed figure as well. And Steve Asmussen is going to a very logical spot. The Whitney on August the 5th is there. It'll be interesting to see if Bob Baffert sends more spirit to that race. That would be a matchup where Gunrunner would probably have to run a little harder than this.
A little bit, but boy, you look at the figs, like you said, the 110 Beyer, the 139 Timeform US rating. The only other horse that is even close to that is Arrogate, and Arrogate, I believe his best race is a 139 as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you get if you get a matchup between a more spirit and a Gunrunner. I'm going to slightly give the edge to Gunrunner because he's done this at 2 turns, a 1.125. More spirit, maybe he's more of a miler, a 1.16 at his absolute best. But I don't have anything to knock about this performance. And again, it sounds like you're trying to throw the caveat in. Well, you know, the race wasn't run the way we all thought it was going to. The fact of the matter was, this horse finished in 12-3 geared down. He is a really, really good horse.
Yeah, Florent Giroux after the race said, you know, he hadn't ridden a horse like this in a 1 1/8 Grade 1 where he wasn't tired at all. And you saw Florent basically just gear this horse down under the wire, and he could have gone around again, and it wouldn't have taken anything out of him. This horse is by Candy Riders, having a really nice year. $60,000 he stands for at Lane's End. He's had Ascend, who won the Manhattan in an upset last week or 2 weeks ago in Belmont Stakes Day on the turf. Of course, Mastery won the San Felipe, and a lot of folks believe he's the most talented 3-year-old before being injured. Gunrunner's going to have a future as a stallion down the road. His dam's a Grade 2 stakes winner. This is the family of St. Liam. He's a very exciting prospect. We hope that Arrogate stays safe and sound in San Diego to the Pacific Classic, all the way to the Breeders' Cup Classic. But if something does go wrong, I mean, Gunrunner looks like he could just, slip right in and fill his void.
It's one of those things. I feel like the connections have got to be obviously very, very happy that they have a horse of this caliber, but also a little bit saying, really, there had to be that one horse that showed up, and now because really, if nothing else, doesn't this just flatter even more what Arrogate did over in Dubai? This horse comes back and absolutely decimates a field like this. Maybe this wasn't the strongest Grade 1 of all time, but it was still a good field. You had some nice runners in here, and he never took a deep breath. I just feel like this is one of those instances where even if everything goes as planned, I mean, you've got to assume there's a scenario in which Arrogate takes a step forward. He's a 4-year-old now, keep in mind. He's only raced 2 times as a 4-year-old. Gunrunner is a really, really talented horse. I just still don't know that he's really all that close to Arrogate.
The rest of these horses were simply overmatched. Is there one or two that you would take out of it in a weaker spot and say, these horses are in sneaky good form, it's going to look like they just got pounded by Gunrunner, and they did, but they'll fit better against weaker horses?
Stanford. Stanford, to me, was the only one that actually took a shot at Gun Runner. He tried and he paid the price. He faded down the lane. I think it's a combination of, I don't think the distance is necessarily his friend. I think he's better going shorter. And again, he was really the only one in this race that really took a shot and tried to go at him. And he was rebuffed and he paid the price for it. But I thought this was a sneaky good effort from Stanford.
I agree, because I'm sure that wasn't the plan. The plan was Birdsong would keep Gun Runner occupied. Stanford would sit the 3-wide trip. It wouldn't have mattered anyway, but he might have finished a little bit closer.
Sure.
This horse did a lot of dirty work in this race. And I think, his running line, it's going to look bad on paper. His race was better than it looks. Gun Runner, 110 Beyer speed figure, one of the top horses in the entire world. We'll probably see him next for trainer Steve Asmussen in the Grade 1 Whitney at Saratoga on August the 5th.